Hi everyone, this is Jim at Azure Horizon Games. I'm here today to do a quick how to play video for Kleos. Kleos is a lightly asymmetrical game of area control and hex-based strategic combat for 2 to 5 players, where you take the role of one of the Greek Olympian gods and compete for glory in the eyes of Zeus to become the patron god of a rising Greek city-state, Kleos, as shown by the board here. So, just going to do a quick run through of how to play. There is also a rulebook on the table, and this game is made public on TTS now, so you can always take a look here, flip through. If you have any questions, there are reference cards on the table. So minion actions are minion abilities, turn sequence, glory, and on the day track there is a breakdown of order of play. So looking at components quick, you have a game board here set up on the table representing the city. On that you have city locations in the middle, which are used for area control. You have temples on the outside where we'll be putting our temple hexes, like that. You have the Greek Isles. Epic heroes and monsters will come from the Epic minion deck and be placed on the Greek Isles. You can send your minions up there to recruit them to join you, which is one of the way to get glory in the game. They're really cool. The Zeus deck is a catch-up mechanism, so it's not a blue shell, but a little way to help you get back in the game if you're falling behind. And these are powerful cards that represent Zeus helping you. It's like you go and beg Zeus and say, Daddy, Ares has been mean, he's been such a jerk, and I really need some help here. And Zeus says, Oh, I'm sick of everyone complaining, just here, take my help, but go back to what you were doing. So there's some really powerful cards in there. Then there is the Fates deck, which has all of the kind of common tropes of Greek mythology: manticores, nymphs, hoplites, amazons, and some powers that are common between all of the gods. So I'll be running through each of the different card types in a minute. I'm just going to show Athena's components as a quick kind of entry in. Each god will have their own temple, which we will place onto the board. Their own divine deck, which has powers that are unique to that god. So we'll be seeing a bunch of these as we go through. And their own champion, which is always going to be in play and is suited to their playstyle. So for Athena, you will have Heracles, son of Zeus, whose attack checks are godly and who will bash things in your honor. Each god also has 2 divine cards to start in their hand each game for some consistency in playstyle. So for Athena, it's going to be Athena's Owl and the Aegis. There's a script that will set all that up for us. And then lastly, each god has their minion tokens at the bottom below the playmat. These correspond to the card slots on your player board. So you'll see like this token represents Heracles on the board. Since Heracles will always be in play, this one will always be on the board. We'll walk through that in a bit. And as I play cards into these slots, these tokens will go onto the board in their appropriate places as well. I'm going to reload quick because I've thrown everything kind of out of sequence here. And I'm going to hit Setup Game. So what that's going to do is get rid of any players who aren't in the game, which unfortunately is going to be everyone but me. It's going to give me the 2 cards listed on my God card, the Aegis and Athena's Owl, into my hand. 4 random cards from the Fates deck, which will be these, and then 1 random card from your Divine deck, which I actually get at the start of Daybreak, but the setup will give you that now. So the way that the game runs, there is a deployment phase where you can put any minions from your hand into play. At the start of the game, everyone can do that simultaneously. Then each player will get a play phase and an action phase. During your play phase, all that you do is play cards from your hand. During your action phase, each minion you have on the board, which includes champions are minions, can take 2 actions. As you use them, you can slide them up on the playmat. You can see it says like 2 actions remaining, 1 action remaining, no actions remaining. So it's a handy way to track them if you'd like to. And once each of your minions takes 2 actions, that's done with. Everyone will go around the table doing that. And then you have a dusk phase where everyone draws back up to 4 cards from the Fates deck. You tally glory gained from area control, which we'll go over. And then you hit the new round button. You'll see the day track will move 1. It'll give you a new card from your divine deck. You do the other daybreak actions. Repopulate the Greek Isles, so if there's ever an empty island and no one has a player token there, you would put a new hero or monster onto that space. And then any player 5 or more glory behind the leader would get 1 card from the Zeus deck. So we are going to gonna reload quick. Set up game. Do this again. Okay. So I'm gonna run through deployment first. So anything that has stats on it like this, has this board frame, is a minion. They could be heroes, monsters, basic, epic, or champions like Heracles. During deployment, you can put as many of these into play as you want. I'm just going to throw one down. I'll keep the other one in my hand so I can show an example later. And then, I should have that on the board. Each minion you control enters play in the space next to your temple. So there's only one space adjacent to each temple. That's where your minions will be entering play. So in this case, I put the cards down, the minion tokens go onto the board, and it shows that my minion number 1 and Heracles are in this location. That would be it for deployment. Play as many minions as you can. Usually you might have a couple more. I could put this one to play if I wanted to, but I don't. And then you would go into the play phase. During your play phase, all you do is play cards from your hand. So you can put down more minions if you want to. But you can play blessings, which are played like enchantments or equipment. So in this case, I'll put the Aegis onto my Centaur, which gives him +1 defense, and he cannot be targeted by opposing card effects. I'll also put my Athena's Owl onto him, another blessing, which gives him a bonus to tactics, which I'll explain a bit later. It allows him to give his tactics to allies not only in his location but in adjacent spaces, which we'll explain soon too. And if this card would ever be sent to Hades, it comes back to my hand. So it's a main part of Athena's strategy. I can play curses, which you play on opposing minions. Curses cannot be played on champions, but I can play them on any other player's minion. So it would give opposing minions +2 attack, which is pretty cool. And then Act of the Gods cards. Both of these give Olympus's favor, but there will be other ones as well. When you play an Act of the Gods card, you just do the effect written on the card and send it to Hades. Hades is a shared discard pile for all decks. No matter which deck a card came from, everything goes to Hades in the end. Now what that card will do is a minion of choice gains Olympus's favor. Olympus's favor is a unique mechanic in this game. It's this token. Only one minion in the entire game can have Olympus's favor. And what that does, I'm just going to draw like 8 dice from here. Whoops. Come on. Normally, when you would roll dice, blank is a failure, cross swords is a success, and that lightning bolt symbol is the godly symbol. So if you're ever rolling godly dice, that counts as a success. Otherwise, it would be a failure, and only the cross swords would be a success. It's Arkham Horror style dice, so 2 sides of the dice are successes, 3 sides are blank, and 1 side is the godly side. Generally, you can only roll godly dice if it's a god power you're using, and it will say on the card. If your minion has Olympus's favor, all of its checks are godly. And some minions like Heracles, actually he's the only one with his legendary strength, all of his attack checks are godly. So his attack might look lower, 6 instead of some of the other champions have 8, but he's succeeding 50% of the time on his dice, where they're only succeeding about 33% of the time. So he's very powerful, especially since a lot of this game's strategy is finding ways to use positioning to buff up the attack of your champions and powerful minions. Seems very suited for Heracles. So let's say that was what I wanted to do for my play phase. I could end turn, it would go to the next player. They would take their play phase, go around the table. When it comes back to me, I take my action phase. During your action phase, each minion you control can take 2 actions. The actions are listed here: move, attack, or recruit. You can do them as many times as you can. So I can move twice, I can attack twice. If there's someone at my location, I can try and recruit twice if I fail the first time. And we'll run through what those actions are. So moving is just, that's one movement action, that's another movement action. Unless you have this symbol in the upper left-hand corner of the Centaur. That little wing there is the swift symbol, which means that this minion can move 2 spaces on its first movement action. So for the Centaur to take its 2 actions, it could go 1 because it's swift, and then 2. On the second action, it can only move 1 space as normal. I'm going to have to reload the game actually to, well, let's say that would be the end of kind of a sample first turn. Then During dusk, I would draw back up to 4 cards from the Fates deck. I could also choose to discard something here. So let's say I didn't want Marked by the Gods. I can now draw 2 cards from the Fates deck. Remember, the Fates deck is the shared deck that all players draw from. And then we would tally glory from area control. So whoever has the most minions at these locations at the end of the day gains that much glory. So in this case, I would gain 1 glory for the arena and 2 glory from the port. I'm really kicking butt here. It's almost like I have no competition. If there's ever a tie, then nobody would get the glory, and champions serve as tiebreakers. So if I have my champion and someone has a normal minion in the location, I would get the glory. I'm going to reload the game quick to do some combat examples. Okay, so let's say Ares has Leonidas and Athena has Heracles, and they are hanging out. You know, it's kind of thematic for them to be hanging out in the arena, right? And it's Athena's turn, and she is going to have Heracles use one of his 2 actions to attack Leonidas. Draw 8 dice there. Whoa. Come on. Okay. Now, the stats on the minions are from top to bottom attack, so his attack is 6. Attack is how many dice you're going to roll in combat. Defense, the blue stat, the second one down, is static. It's how many successes you need to roll to kill a minion. So I never roll my defense, but someone would need 5 successes in combat to take out Heracles. Cunning is a third stat that's used for recruiting. It's how many dice you roll to make a recruit check. And the bottom one is tactics, which is how well you can support your allies in combat when you're at the same location. So let's do a sample combat. I'm going to have Heracles spend an action to attack Leonidas. I'm just going to pull Leonidas' card over here for easy reference. He has a 5 defense as well. All of the champions do. So Heracles on his 6 dice needs to roll 5 successes. He rolls 1, 2, and since his dice are godly, he rolls 4 total. Not enough. Leonidas is okay. Now, since this is ancient Greece, they're in close quarters combat. Leonidas does get to retaliate. They're fighting at the same time. They're going at it hard in close quarters combat. He will roll 8 dice. And he will roll 1 success because his dice are not godly. They're both fine. So it probably doesn't look like great odds in these combats for someone to die, but that's where the strategy comes in. So let's draw the 2 cards from here that I would normally have. Let me get some of my other minions back. I'll show you one of the cool, one of the cool things about what Athena can do. We'll take this. Okay, we'll take you, and let's find like a cool griffin or something. Yeah, let's take a griffin. Now, some cards, some minions will have abilities like Monstrous Offering and Heroic Mount. A Heroic Mount can either be played as a minion on your playmat, and you can put it onto the board, or it can be played attached to a hero you control as a mount, and it will give the bonus next to this ability title there. So Swift and +1 attack. Well, you know what? It'd be pretty cool if Heracles is riding around on a griffin kicking butt. We'll do that. He now has Swift and +1 attack, so his attack is 7. And let's say, also with mounts, each minion can only have 1 mount attached. It has to come from your hand, and you can replace them if you want to, in which case this griffin would go to Hades. I would put a new mount on there, like let's say Pegasus would be better than a griffin. There's also Monstrous Offering. If you ever had, let's take the Cyclops here. If you had a Cyclops in play, let's just throw you on the board somewhere. I could either play this card, the Amazonian Battle Sister, as a minion, putting it onto the board, or since it has Monstrous Offering, I can offer it up to a monster, which is the same thing as Mount, except instead of going onto a hero, it just goes onto a monster. And now the Cyclops would have +2 attack, so he's up to 9. But you know what? The way Athena plays, I want to get tactics bonuses. Let's say that this Amazonian Battle Sister is at the same location as Heracles. Tactics, that green stat at the bottom, is how well she can support her allies in combat at the same location. If Heracles enters combat, whether he's attacked or making an attack, you'll add that tactics value, so 1 in this case, from the Amazonian battle sister onto Heracles. And really it's added for all allies at his location. So if he had like two other minions there that each had +1 tactics, he could get +3 attack just from the tactics of other people at his location. Some really powerful support minions might have 2 or 3 tactics, which is great. You can roll a ton of dice, which is part of the fun and part of the object of the game. Some minions, which are big and nasty and not really great at making friends, might have a negative tactics, which always automatically comes off their allies' attacks because you kind of have to pay some attention to your quote unquote friend who might accidentally smack you while they're trying to smack the enemy. Lernian Hydra, for example, has like a -3, so you have to watch out for that. They're very strong on their own, but can get messy. So in this case, Heracles would be rolling 6 +1 for his mount, so 7, 8 dice. And also, Athena has this great card called Athena's L that will give a minion +1 tactics and allow it to grant its tactics bonus to allies in adjacent spaces as well. So let's say we had that on our battle sister. And let's say instead of being on that location, she was here. She's still going to be giving +2 dice now to Heracles' attack. So he would roll 6, 7 for the Griffin, +2 for the Amazonian battle sister. So he's going to be rolling 9 dice. And they're going to be godly because he's Heracles. Let's redo that same combat. Heracles attacking Leonidas. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then because he's godly, he gets these 2, 6 successes. That would be enough to take Leonidas down. Oh, where'd he go? But Leonidas still gets to retaliate, so he's going to roll his 8 dice. Measly 8 dice. He has a chance, but it's not great, and he fails. 2 successes, not enough. Your champions can never be killed, so in this case, Leonidas would be defeated. Ares would whisk him away back to his temple before Heracles can kill him, but Athena would gain 2 glory for killing a champion. You get 1 glory for killing a minion, 2 glory for defeating a champion. There's also a mechanic called slaughter. So let's say Ares controlled the Cyclops, and Heracles went to go attack it, and he rolled his 9 dice, and it's his attack action. There's a mechanic called slaughtering. Just going to fudge these dice rolls a bit. Okay. The Cyclops has 3 defense. So Heracles would need 3 successes to kill at the end of combat. If you're ever making the attack action, so you're the one attacking first, and you roll 3 more successes than the opponent's defense, they are slaughtered, which means they do not get to retaliate. They would go straight to Hades. You see this time he rolled 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 successes, and you get an extra glory. So normally killing a minion would get you 1 glory, but you slaughtered it, you get 2, and you can give Olympus's favor to the minion that killed it. In Olympus's favor, again, only 1 minion in the game can have it, and all dice that minion rolls are now godly. So not great on Heracles with his attack checks already being godly, but you know, if you can give it to your other minions, they'll be getting huge advantages in recruiting and other things that they'll be doing throughout the game. There are attacks of opportunity. So let's say Leonidas and Heracles are at the same location. If I go to move Heracles off, Leonidas gets to make an attack of opportunity. There's no tactics in attack of opportunity. He just rolls his attack plus any other bonuses he has from blessings or mounts. And there's no retaliation, so if he kills that minion, it just gets the glory, it's dead. If you have multiple minions at the same location that would get to make an attack of opportunity, you can only choose 1. Each player can only choose 1. And it would start with the player that went first in the round. They could choose to do it or not to do it. If they choose not to do it, it goes to the next player. If they do it and the minion survives, the next player can also take the choice to do it. And each minion can only make 1 opportunity attack per day. You can either exhaust them or just move them to show they have no actions remaining once they've done it if you want to. And there are no attacks of opportunity from the port. The port is a free movement space. You can come and go as you please without being attacked of opportunity. You can still fight there, just no attacks of opportunity. Lastly is recruiting. So I'm going to hit the setup game button. Oh, actually left Leonidas there for me. I didn't think it would do that. Now, let's say I start my turn like this, my action phase. Each of my minions can take 2 actions. Well, the last thing we haven't talked about is recruiting. So let's say I want to take my Amazonian battle sister and try to recruit, let's go for the Phoenix, that's pretty cool. From the port you can move to any of the Greek islands. From the Greek islands you can move back to the port. You cannot move from Greek island to Greek island without going back to the port. That's what those dotted lines mean. So let's say I take my first action with this minion to go to the Phoenix's island. Whoa. I don't know. Oh, there we go. I can now take my second action to recruit. So you have to be on the island to recruit. And the way that you recruit is by rolling 1 dice for each point you have in cunning, the yellow stat, the third one down, so 5 here. And you're trying to roll a number of successes equal to the disposition of the minion on the island, which is the stat in the upper right hand corner, that little person symbol with a number on top, which is 2 on the Phoenix. So I'm rolling 5 dice, I need 2 successes. I failed, but let's pretend I didn't. Okay. I rolled 3 successes, yay! So I've succeeded in recruiting, because I only needed 2. The Phoenix would come onto my playmat. There we go. I would put this minion token onto the island where I recruited it. I would gain a glory, because you get 1 glory for recruiting. Now the Phoenix cannot act the day it's recruited, so even if I somehow recruited my play phase, it can't act that turn, unless I have a card that lets it. And next turn, I'll be able to have that Phoenix go out there and wreak havoc around the board, or try and recruit other things for minions that have Swift. Next turn I can have it swift its way, move that extra space to try and go recruit someone else. Start building up an epic team. And I believe that's about everything for the game. The game takes place over 5 days or rounds of play. And the player at the end of dusk on the 5th day, who has the most glory, is the winner. You gain glory by killing minions is 1, killing champions is 2, holding the key parts of the city is the amount of glory shown on the location, so 1 for these 3, 2 for the port. And by recruiting gets you 1 as well. That's all shown in these reference cards. Thank you very much. I really hope you enjoy playing Kleos, which is now live on Tabletop Simulator. Feel free to join the Kleos Facebook group and post any questions or feedback that you may have. And enjoy it, everybody. Game on.